We just witnessed one of the craziest rounds of deadlifts ever, with not one but two junior 59s breaking, and not just breaking, but smashing the open 59 kilo deadlift world record. Not just that, but one of them was actually a sub-junior, marking the first time in the sport's history that a sub-junior has ever broken an open world record. And to make it even more epic, both of those deadlifts were to pull the lifters into winning positions. So starting off with the sub-junior 59s, we had Allan Duong Dinh Hai break the world record. But first, the battle he was in was against Justin Nguyen of USA, who locked up a 585.5 total with this 255 deadlift on his third attempt. And this pulled him into the gold medal position. So again, like I said, these weren't just world record lifts with no contention. These were fierce battles, and this gave him a lead over Allan. So Allan Duong Dinh Hai had to load up 286 kilos to chip Justin's total by half a kilo and pull himself into gold to take the junior world title. 286. The previous world record in the 59s was 276.5. A bit later in this video, I'm going to show you the history of the 59 kilo deadlift world record to put into perspective how ridiculous this is. Almost 10 kilos above the open deadlift world record as a sub-junior. Like I said in the intro, no sub-junior, so no one under 18 or under, has ever broken an open world record. There have been lifters that have come close, right? We've had Eddie Berglund, I think, benched a world record at 19. Nonso pulled a world record deadlift at 19. Agatha Shitko benched a world record deadlift at 19. But no sub-junior has ever done it. Not only did Allan do that and break an open world record as a sub-junior, he did it by almost a full 10 kilos. This wasn't just a chip. Even that would have been wildly impressive. This was 10 kilos over the open deadlift world record, and it was for a winning deadlift to pull himself into first position, right? So it wasn't just a Hail Mary last attempt with nothing to lose, may as well swing for it. This was the deadlift that gave him the junior world title, sub-junior world title. Absolutely insane. However, this record only stood for a few minutes before, or about half an hour or so till the next flight, last round of deadlifts rolled around, the junior 59s. So here we actually had a reverse. We had Bodie LaCoe breaking the world record and winning from Team USA, beating a Frenchman. So the reverse of what we saw in sub-juniors. But Valentin Dupoinol, who was nominated first as the favorite, deadlifted 270 on his third attempt here to lock up 622.5. Now, Bodie LaCoe absolutely stole the show in his final pull that I'm about to show you. But Valentin stood up with 270 pretty damn quickly himself, and 622.5 is a crazy total, but he probably was also good for damn near the open world record coming in, which, like I said, was 276.5 based on how quick that 270 moved. But Bodie LaCoe, who had never totaled in the 600s before, let alone anywhere near the 620s, had to load up a ridiculous pull, 293 kilos, right? So this was to break the deadlift world record by 7 kilos that was just set by Allan in the sub-juniors, and that's how easily he did it, right? And not only that, if it wasn't for Allan in the sub-juniors hitting 286, this would have broken the open 59 deadlift world record by a full 16.5 kilos. So you had Allan in the sub-juniors break it by 9.5, and then you had Bodie LaCoe come and add a further 7 to that, 293 kilos. Juniors breaking open world records is pretty rare in and of itself. It's happened on multiple occasions, right? So it's not exactly unheard of, but for a sub-junior to do it is completely unheard of. And for them to do it by this magnitude, and the fact that they were pulls for the win, blows my mind. What a way to start the Junior World Championships. Now, I said I would go back through the historic 59 deadlift world records, and I think this illustrates just how impressive this is. The IPF deadlift world record coming into Junior Worlds was 276.5. done by Wahyu Surya. And you can see there that looked like an opener. He probably had a lot more in him on that day. He's pulled upwards of 300 in training with various different setups, straps, deadlift bars, etc., etc. But he's good for a lot more than that. But regardless, that's what he did on that day at the Asian Championships this year, just a few months ago, 276.5. Prior to that, the world record belonged to Oscar Carpio, who hit 275.5 at Sheffield earlier this year. So again, this was done just a few months ago at this year's Sheffield, 275.5. But before that, the world record belonged to Derek Nyi with 275 kilos, and this was done in 2019. That's right, 2019. So Oscar, when he chipped it by half a kilo at Sheffield this year, actually broke a record that had stood for 6 years, and then Wahyu Surya added another kilo to it, right? And then before Derek, it was held by Sergey Fedosienko with 274, and before Fedosienko, it was actually held by Bodie LaCoe's older brother, Dalton, with 271.5, and both of those were done in 2018. But regardless, the point I'm trying to show here is, since 2019, right, so in 6 years, up until or going into Junior Worlds, the 59 kilo deadlift world record had been upped by a full 1.5 kilos. That's it. In 6 years, it had gone up 1.5 kilos. And then in one more day, right, at the sub-junior and junior sessions that just finished, we saw it jump by 16.5 kilos, right? And we saw a sub-junior break up by 9.5 kilos. How insane is that? That's why it's crazy that they didn't just chip it, they smashed it. Both of them did, when we've seen such incremental and infrequent improvements on the 59 deadlift world record for a sub-junior to break up almost 10 kilos and for a junior to add another 7 kilos on top of that is absolutely mental. And the final thing I'm going to say is not just the deadlifts, but the totals were crazy impressive. If you look at the top 59 kilo totals, so active 59 kilo lifters today, this is the top 5, which also happens to be the top 5 biggest 59 kilo totals ever done in raw tested competition. I don't know if I should count Fedosienko as active still, but nevertheless, he's on there. So if you take the junior lifters, Bodie LaCoe, 623, and of course Valentin, who he beat and finished in silver, 622.5, they are number 6 and 7 respectively on this list now. So not only did they just absolutely, or Bodie absolutely annihilate the deadlift world record, right, but he is also up there now in contention as one of the best 59s in the world, and same thing goes for Valentin as well. It's pretty cool because the 59s for a long time were a bit of a, I don't want to say dead class, but there wasn't a whole lot of contention in there. It was Fedosienko dominating for ages, and then you had Oscar sort of dominating with a bit of a gap between everyone. But in the last year or so, you've had Wahyu Surya emerge, Ivan Campagno Diaz level up, Antoine Garcia himself leveled up with a 15 kilo PB to hit 625 at World Games, and now you have these two super strong juniors who are in the 620s. The 59s are starting to turn into a pretty contentious class, not to mention if Sergey Fedosienko comes back, which I hope he will, to international competition. And the sub-juniors as well, worth mentioning their totals, what was it, 586 and 585.5, is a bit further down this list, but still high 500s. And with the way they're going and the way they're rapidly improving, I wouldn't be surprised to see them crack into the 600s. But yeah, what a crazy way to start IBF Junior Worlds this year. I struggle to see how I can get much better than this. But yeah, absolutely insane deadlift session from these junior lifters.